Okay guys, before we get started, would you mind coming to introduce yourself?
My name is Holly White.
Sherry Craven.
Victoria Burns.
Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about business and social etiquette in Japan and some things that you would need to know as a business leader if you were trying to conduct business overseas in Japan. So first we're going to talk about some of their etiquette and customs. So some of the most important customs are social customs, their value systems, and their economic institutions. Some of the most important social customs in Japanese culture are their greetings, the way they communicate, exchanging gifts during business interactions, and their manners. They're known for having polite manners. So some of their greetings include bowing. That's the way that they greet each other, formally, informally. It can symbolize anything from thanks, apologies, having respect for someone, and the degree of the bow, the degree of your torso, symbolizes a greater respect the deeper the bend is. So in a business situation, you would use what they call a karai bow. It's approximately a 30-degree angle of your torso. Another important aspect of business customs in Japan is their communication. They rely a lot on nonverbal communication, such as just being silent and nodding your head during a speaker talking. That shows a good sign of respect and listening skills. But they do not like prolonged eye contact. It's considered rude and disrespectful. Whenever you hand someone a business card, be sure to do it with 2 hands and incorporate a bow as well. Also, during business meetings, it is important to let your Japanese counterpart introduce you. Do not introduce yourself. Also, touching and affection is inappropriate unless you're in a crowded situation, and then it's okay, such as a train or subway and it's really crowded. It's actually custom for people to lay their head on each other's shoulders, but not in a business interaction. Another important part of business meetings is the gift exchange. It's a very common ritual among initial business meetings. So the actual ritual of the gift exchange is more important than what the gift is. It's customary to have nice wrapping, it to look, professional, and it's usually given at the end of the meeting. Also, if you do not have a gift for everyone involved, it's considered rude. Some taboo things are given white flowers and any kind of gifts in numbers of 4 or 9. It's considered disrespectful. It's just a taboo thing in Japan. So Japanese culture is also well known for their manners and their politeness. So something like nose blowing in public is considered disrespectful and it's very frowned upon. However, slurping your noodles at dinner is considered acceptable. It actually shows the chef a sign that you enjoyed your meal and it's a compliment to them. And going to the bathroom, there are also customs for that. So they have what they call toilet slippers, usually in the bathrooms of hotels, houses, restaurants. You take off your shoes before entering the bathroom and slip on your toilet slippers and then exchange them afterwards. Also, when receiving a bill, it is important not to count your change. It's considered a sign of distrust and it's also disrespectful to them because the Japanese culture is built on trust and harmony and cooperation. So, speaking of what their values are, what they're built on, harmony and cooperation, like I just said, they're very polite because in order to facilitate cooperation, they don't like conflict. Even if you disagree with something, it's not important to show your true feelings because then you'll be viewed as difficult. And so they, like I mentioned before, they avoid conflict in order to promote harmony throughout the country. That could also be a reason for their low crime rate because they're, like I said, they base their values on trust, cooperation, and harmony. Education in Japan is held to a very high standard. The current curriculum focuses on creativity, internationalism, and critical thinking. Your education is ingrained in everyone from preschool age to university age, and therefore getting into top schools is very competitive because typically every student wants to attend a top university. When it comes to women in business, the Japanese culture is a little behind. As of, I think it was like 1947, they were granted equal rights as men, but as far as pay and income, they are still behind and typically receive a 30% less income than their male counterparts. They also don't often make it to executive and management positions because they leave their jobs once they become married or have children. And this is sometimes due to the long work hours, sometimes upwards of 60 hours a week, and there's no time to take care of their families. So, the Japanese culture also views Americans a little bit differently than the way we view them. We view them in a little bit more of a positive light than they view us. We hold them in a little bit higher regard, even though we have a mutual respect. So this is a table discussing the views that Americans and the Japanese have of each other. So when it comes to being trustworthy, 68% of Americans believe that the Japanese are trustworthy versus only 78% of Japanese believe that Americans are trustworthy. So they're pretty close in terms of being trustworthy, but 94% of Americans believe that the Japanese are hardworking, whereas only 28% of the Japanese believe Americans are hardworking. 19% of Americans believe that the Japanese are selfish, whereas 47% of the Japanese believe Americans are selfish. And when it comes to honesty, 78% of Americans believe that Japanese are honest, whereas only 37% of Japanese believe that Americans are honest. So we view them just a little bit more positively than they view us. So, some of the economic institutions in Japan, like their principal products, they are the fourth largest export economy in the world. And I think we all know some of their biggest exports are cars. They're home of 6 of the top selling vehicle manufacturers, like Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Suzuki, Mazda, and Mitsubishi. I think most of us know that they're really well known for producing Toyotas. So the work life in Japan, also part of their economic system, like I said previously, they typically work more than 60 hours a week, and this is because they view quantity better than quality, and seniority is typically how you're promoted within your corporation. So typically as you get older, then that's how you get promoted, because seniority is synonymous with age. And previously mentioned, I talked about harmony and cooperation, and so they don't like to focus on individualism, especially in the business aspect. They like to have a group consensus when it comes to decision making. So, if you are traveling to Japan to conduct business, some of the previously mentioned things are important to know. It's not a conclusive list, but it is a good outline to get started and to do more research before traveling and doing business in Japan. Do you guys have any questions?
No, that was great.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope that maybe one day you go conduct business in Japan.
Thank you.